Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Rob Motive JT. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jeep Gladiator reliability versus quality. You know, I think a lot of people kind of interchange those words, and they're really not the same thing. You know, I've done it myself, talking about the reliability of the Jeep Gladiator. And first of all, reliability, to me, really means when I push the button, does it start up, get me where I want to go, and then bring me back home? That's really reliability, right? I mean, if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, and that's to transport you where you want to go, or maybe haul stuff or tow stuff or whatever, then you'd be talking about a reliability issue. And I have to say, so far, of the 3 Jeep Gladiators that I've had, by that definition, they all have been reliable. Now, that doesn't mean that they have great quality. And there are a few quality issues with the Jeep Gladiator that I have experienced myself. First of all, let's talk about the infamous radio black screen. And leave a comment. I'd be curious to know if anybody else has experienced this or if it's just been my luck on every Jeep Gladiator or really Mopar product that I've had. What I'm talking about is you start the vehicle up, the radio comes on, and then the screen goes black. And it may stay black for a while. You might have to restart the vehicle. I've had it happen both ways. The first time I experienced this actually was, I believe, in a Jeep I had many years ago, and I thought something was wrong. I was getting in it, I'd only had it like a couple of weeks or something, started it up, screen pops on, goes black. It did come back up, and I thought, well, maybe it was just a reset or something, right? So fast forward to the next Mopar vehicle. It happened to be a Ram Rebel. Now, that thing had digital everything in it. Radio, gauge cluster, all that stuff. Same thing happened. Everything went black, including the speedometer, the gauges, the radio, everything. But it did not pop back up right away. I actually drove to a gas station, turned it off, went inside, came out, and everything functioned as normally. And I never had another problem. I've had the same thing happen with every other Jeep Gladiator that I've had. Seems to happen shortly after you get the vehicle, which leads me to believe that it's some sort of a software update or reset in the system. Happens one time and then everything is fine. That to me is a quality problem. It shouldn't happen, or at least they ought to let you know it's going to happen. I've never seen any verbiage anywhere that states that that is going to occur. Next up, check engine lights or system malfunction warnings. I think I've had that in every Mopar or Jeep Gladiator product that I've had, except this one. This one I've never had that issue in. The other 2 that I had auto stop malfunction warnings coupled with check engine lights. Seemed to be some sort of a problem with the auxiliary battery system, because I've also had messages that say the battery is charging or not charged. My buddy Randall had a problem. We changed that auxiliary battery on his Jeep Gladiator recently because his auxiliary panel, those auxiliary switches that you can get, they wouldn't function because the auxiliary battery was not charged enough and didn't seem to ever get back up to charge. That's why we changed the battery. Don't believe he's had any problems with it since then. Maybe he'll chime in down below as to how it's going, but it did seem to be as a result of a bad auxiliary battery. Next up, freedom panel durability. Now, what I'm talking about are what Jeep calls the freedom panels, the hard panels that go right across the front. Of course, I've replaced mine with the Sunrider soft top. It's just easier to manipulate. 2 little latches, throw it back, and you have that opening across the top. The freedom panels that I had pulled off, put them in the case that Jeep provided, and slid them under a bed that's not used. So there's not people getting in and out of it all the time, pushing down on the bed, anything like that. I got them out because I was trading that Jeep to my mother, actually, and was going to put them back on the white Jeep that you've probably seen on the channel, and discovered there was a chip in the corner. Just enough so you could see it. It's white underneath that black cover, by the way, or color. And it drove me nuts. But I got to thinking, you know, what do you do with those freedom panels? A lot of people have said that they take them off and they throw them in the back, either in the back seat area or in the bed. Now, when you handle them, you're invariably going to bang them around on something, right? I mean, it's just what happens. They're big, they're bulky. They're not really heavy, but they're bulky to throw around. I couldn't imagine popping them in the back of your truck in the bed, having them slide all over the place, bang into things, and still having them be in good condition. They're not a very good quality part. They're reliable, but not really good quality when it comes to handling them, which is something you're supposed to be able to do, right? Next up, engine vibration. This is something that's a pet peeve of mine. It drives me insane. Can't stand to sit in a vehicle at a stop, in park, whatever, and have it sit there and vibrate. I had a Honda CR-V a long time ago. They had a problem with engine brackets or something, and it did the same thing. I looked over at the passenger seat, and you could just see it moving. Drove me nuts. I've had that issue with this Jeep Gladiator Mojave, where it just kind of rough idles, I guess is what I would call it. Put a little bit of fuel cleaner in it, injector cleaner, and it seemed to solve the problem, but not indefinitely. About every 3 months or so, I've got to throw another can of that stuff in there. That to me is a quality issue. That should not happen. It's still reliable, never quit running, didn't strand me anywhere, but still would sit there and just vibrate. Drove me nuts. Next up, Jeeps are leaky. The tops are leaky. Water can get in. Now, I think this goes back a long time ago because they did used to be leaky. If you'd be in any kind of rain or anything, you might be sitting in the driver's seat and feel water dripping on you. That's not really true anymore unless you do something wrong. If you don't put the top back on, if you've had it off, for instance, a soft top, or maybe you didn't latch the freedom panels properly, or maybe you damaged them, you know, the little rubber seals that are underneath, then you might have a problem, and that would be a quality problem. It's not that it quit running and it didn't get you from point A to point B, but who wants to sit there in a storm and take a shower? You know what I mean? Lastly, fender fading. I hear about this a lot on the channel. People talk about the trim work fading out, and there's a lot of it. I mean, right up in the front, unless you have the painted fender covers, these can fade, supposedly. Now, I live in South Texas where we have tons and tons of sun, right? So it continuously beats on these because I keep this outside. And as you can see, even though it's dirty, I don't know what that is, even though it's dirty, they still look really good. I don't think that's an issue. If it were, again, that would be a quality problem. I mean, why would you be keeping your Jeep, the rugged Jeep, outside? What? I don't have any issues, but I know there are people out there that do. There's all kinds of protectants and things that you can get for that. No issues for mine. Anyway, I just wanted to get on, talk a little bit about the difference between the two, reliability versus quality. Again, for me, if it gets you from point A to point B, it's reliable. That's what it's supposed to do. If there are little quirky things, like I mentioned, those are quality issues. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? It is pretty reliable, but there are some quality concerns, I think. Leave a comment. Let me know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about the Toyota Tacoma, and Mod Driven, all about the Honda Civic. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? And while you're at it, smash the subscribe button here too. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye. Brought to you by ducks that don't quack.